I can kind of moderate or facilitate what this session, but of course, feel free to join the facilitation. Yeah, as I was saying in the presentation, we did 4 events this year, and we are going to do as many the next ones. And maybe I can speak 2 minutes around the common sub more in detail in the presentation, but mostly I would like to know what you want to speak about in this session. And I think that among the many different teams, diversity would be a good one because it's I really care about it, and this year was a bit disastrous in that sense, meaning that even if we were the most progressive part of the crypto space, it was 80 and sometimes 90 and once 100% white male. So yeah, that's a problem to be addressed. So what do you think? What should we focus this 20 minutes, right? Christopher, did you hear so far?
No, my internet just switched off for like 12 seconds at like whenever that entire beginning was. Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
20 minutes? Yeah, go on.
you are all okay speaking about diversity? Cool.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In general,
So,
but I mean, we can ground it up in the events thing or in the space. I don't know. Like maybe it's more concrete if we refer to real experiences. And yeah, I was saying that it's very difficult to have women and minorities in these kind of events for a number of reasons that are legit, I think, but also there are other reasons that people don't see or don't agree on. And I think that just to be fast in this conversation because there's not so much time, there are basically 2 positions that I see in the space in regard to this problem. And one is that if you are just open and not actively discriminating anybody, that's enough. And if women come, well, otherwise no problem. And I don't like it personally. And the other is that to attract um women and minorities, you should actively communicate that it's a safe space and it's inclusive and do something more direct in that sense. So I would
okay.
like to, what do you think about this? Because doing nothing doesn't work in my opinion, and especially if the space is as this kind of distribution of category, yeah, that is mostly male dominated. So what do you think?
I can speak to this, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I have been in the Web3 space since April, and I'm one of the women in the space that are constantly getting offered like scholarships, and like I went to this Solana event in Lisbon last week where they basically just paid us to look like girls attend the game day, you know, even though if none of us were interested in gaming. So I see, I don't know, I think like that's a way to do it in a very lazy way, right? Which is what I see most protocols and events doing, like offering incentives to women. Um, I really think like it has to come from relationships, right? Because I think like women are maybe more gravitated. I mean, this is going to be a very general statement, but it's also true. I think like women will participate more based on the relationships they have, I think, right? So I think this is the long-term solution, which that's why I'm helping with HerDAO in Kenya. Like I'm involved in a lot of these like women initiatives to make women understand blockchain and not be intimidated. Because a lot of the things I hear is like, oh, I don't know how to code. It's like, good, actually, it's better if you don't code. But as someone who's trying to onboard a lot of my female friends that are not technical, like people from education and a lot of like social work sectors, these kinds of good sectors, like we need these people in the space. They all think that they're not going to enjoy it or be totally lost and therefore humiliated because they don't know how to understand technical things. So really it's the content needs to be demystified for these kinds of attendees. And then we need also like female leaders such as myself doing initiatives like this all over the ecosystem so that women feel comfortable to be in a space where they're totally like not in the context.
So sorry, what do you mean by building relationships? If you want to be more specific, just for everybody to understand.
I think in general, like women feel more comfortable when attending something totally out of their comfort zone if they know somebody there, right? I think that's also in general just a people thing, but maybe it's because, you know, also they don't want to be like the one woman there. I think I'm used to it because I've worked on technical teams and I've always been the token chick, and it's like fine. I actually like that now because I always get my voice heard when I'm the one woman. But I think this sentiment is actually quite rare, and I'm just saying that anecdotally, like from talking to my female friends that are not in the tech space at all, and I'm trying to get them into Web3 because they're unhappy in their careers and they want to make impact and yeah, all these things. Like I know they belong there and they really feel excited every time I talk about what I'm doing, but it's like for example, I'm going to Berlin just to have one of my friends. I've been trying to get her to attend a Regions Unite event, but she won't go by herself. So I'm going there to bring her. And I know she's going to go because I'm staying with her, but like she wasn't able to be self-initiative about it. I don't know. I think maybe it's a personality thing, but I think I don't know. It's hard to also say these things without making really blatant generalizations, right? So I don't know, maybe Ivy, if you can relate, you can touch on that, your experience.
Yeah, especially because you are one of the few teams that is almost completely women-led, no? In Transisit or Common Stack.
In
I remember
Stack,
seeing
yeah.
the photos.
Both
that's
both
amazing.
organizations. Yeah, I think in my personal experience, I think I've shared this with one of my friends before. Like when I started joining the Web3 space, I was into joining this crypto trading, you know. And my first experience was so bad because I joined a Telegram channel and then I got kicked out just because I'm a woman. Because they thought that I'm a scammer. You know, I just offered help. I just offered this because someone got scammed, and then I typed something. And I said, "Hey," I gave him like a nice, some comforting words. The next thing I knew, I was kicked out of the Telegram chat. So I was so furious, you know, like just because I am a woman. So that's the initial bad experience I had in this space. But with Common Stack, like I'm so glad, you know, that in the past, I think only like 3 of us were women in the team, but now the majority of the team is women. So I'm so glad that there are more female coming to this space. But while we're also in this topic about diversity, I also want to talk about as I think Julio wrote something about events. Because I'm a Filipino, I'm based in the Philippines. I think one of the challenges for us is coming to these events in Europe, in this visa required countries. So it's also a challenge for me. Like we also have a teammate in Pakistan, and he also needs like this visa. So I don't know how we want to address this these limitations, these boundaries in this in the Web3 space. And I feel like most of the events in the crypto space are heavily focused in Europe and in the US, and people in this part of the world in Asia are having this very limited chance to meet with and join these events and opportunities. So that's one thing I also want to bring to this conversation. Should I pass it to someone? Maybe I pass it to Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno, what was your experience this year in your 3 events, right?
With Regions Night 4, yes. I think what was different with us is because we don't focus on crypto. Like, we don't focus like 100% of crypto. I mean, it's more like when I try to explain to people, it's like, okay, it's like we try to hit like 25% of the people that's working crypto in the region corner. So then it's actually easier to because there's collectives, there's artists, there's facilitators, and maybe those topics like appeal more to like a broader group of people, or like maybe there's not that technical threshold that's like associated with crypto. Yeah, that's the experience I have to add on this part.
Nice.
I can just also include like comparing. So at Eat Safari, for example, we had a really high turnout of female technical. I mean, even if they were not technical, just people curious about the space. And I think that's an interesting thing to point out. You know, like, I don't know, maybe because also Kenyans need opportunities more than Europeans do. So they're willing to put themselves in more like unconventional and comfortable situations. And yeah, that was a very eye-opening reality check for me.
Wendy, Chris, you want to add something to the conversation?
Yeah, two things. The first on events. I think this, if I understood Ivy, it's kind of a geographic diversity we have to work towards. And I for a couple of reasons, I also couldn't travel to a bunch of stuff, for instance, South America in the last 6 weeks. And I was really thinking that, geez, we've got all those people in one location. Can't we do a parallel program? Can't we do a parallel program online that takes advantage of, fine, 30% of the thought leadership that's in the room, and then some unique things that are for just those of us who are remote. And it just feels like, we probably just need to make that decision to be much more inclusive in that way, because the visas it just gave me some insight, right? Like, I was like, well, that's me. What about everybody east of me? I think you made a really good point there. And on the gender thing, yeah. So I think, there's lots of reasons that contribute to the imbalance. One is comfort with the technology. One is comfort, for instance, in gaming. One is comfort with LARPing. One is comfort with money and making money. Such that maybe you guys were the minority. Ivy, were a minority in trading. And I agree with your hypothesis, Julio, that passive welcoming people is going to be wholly inadequate. Relationships would be the ideal solution, and maybe a halfway house, or part of the way there, is being explicit that, I don't want to just say like women are welcome, but something that calls out and says, we recognize this as an issue and we'll take steps to generate inclusion.
Yeah, any idea on this? Because every time we try to do something, or every time I ask for feedbacks to women friends, for example, to discuss about what we could do practically, it always feel like that when you say that it's because you want to include women, they say like, oh, but then you just want me as a token or for signaling or not because I'm competent, but because I'm a woman, or like no. I mean, you also do. You are in the space, and I mean it's difficult to. What do you think in this sense?
You're absolutely
Because
right.
I would be totally how do you say comfortable, and I think it would be cool to say like we want minimum 30% of participants of women, but I imagine that a lot of women will take it wrong. No,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So I think you're absolutely right. There's no silver bullet. And Naomi, I totally get your point about, you know, chick signaling with incentives. If we look at recruitment and gender differences and trying to resolve for the like if we take recruitment as an analog, the research basically shows we have to start. Naomi, this is really interesting because I didn't think of it until you said it. We may need to, I don't know, but we may need to manage this as a relationship, and as a relationship from the top of the funnel all the way through. Showing up and saying, we're having ETH Denver, you know, and we really, really, really respect women, and we really, really want you there so much that we're going to really, really, really pay for your hotel rooms. That's transactional. And what the recruitment and, you know, getting people up the sort of in real life ladder suggests is that you have to start at the very beginning of the funnel. And maybe we need to divide each stage of the funnel, you know, into whatever groups and say, look, I'm part of stage 1, and we're a 6-stage crew. I'm your stage 1. You're going to have a relationship with us all the way through. We're not just going to transact and go away. And we'll lose, you know, tons. We'll lose 40, 50, 60%. But that's what the existing research says. I'm not sure if that's still true.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I think in general, the whole space needs a like way more long-term runway approach, you know, because the Solana thing I did was just kind of ridiculous. I mean, we felt like a lot of us were saying we felt like influence, you know, they were paying us to be there instead of hiring models. If it had been in Miami, they would have just hired a bunch of models to be like, oh, look, there are, you know, women here, guys. And it's just so crazy that that's what they think will work. But no, I mean, we all are here obviously trying to build like long-term solutions to a lot of broken systems. So inclusivity is one of them, right? And I think maybe starting from like in Kenya, for example, for East Safari, we targeted new graduates of different schools from universities, like not only computer science programs, and pretty much all of them showed up. But like I said, again, like they're so enthusiastic about opportunities. It's not like they just get to choose from,
you know what,
conferences a year.
You have a data point there that worked, and your second hypothesis could be that it's because they're so needful that even the women showed up. But boy, could we take that experiment elsewhere?
Exactly.
So what is a measure that you would like to see in an event that would make you say, oh, this event is really doing the shit right in terms of inclusion?
Yeah, well, like at CCG, at the one session we had about inclusivity in organizations and diversity, one thing that all of the women at CCG agreed on is that we don't like when we see just the women working together. It's like, no, we're all supposed to be integrating. It's not supposed to be just like, okay, women are present, but you know, they're all working on only women teams and they're not interacting at all. You know, this is fragmentizing the community, and I don't think that's healthy. I see that happen a lot in the space, and fixing that is, yeah, that's hard, because in one way you have like like I even went to an all women's hackathon and it was really peaceful and I really liked it and the but the vibe changes obviously when you also introduce the men, like it becomes faster paced, there's more competition. And so I don't know, like creating a healthy dynamic also where, you know, everybody's happy and everybody's getting the experience they want is not easy. But yeah, I think there's really no other way other than incentivizing from an early stage where people are going to really grow with the movement and not just attend because they're getting like something free.
So you mean like showing continuous small and big efforts in inclusion, not just like events, discount?
Yeah, having
Okay.
also women speakers, like everybody really likes Evan, the disco.xyz. She's one of the most, I guess, like beloved women leaders in Web3. Everybody really loves her side events and her presentations, and yeah, having elements that make women feel really like, okay, this event, they thought about me when they were organizing it, you know, like what do I like?
Okay, thanks.
Now,
Other comments? Yeah.
Naomi, you mentioned like a few behaviors like faster pace, more competition, and like it kind of like made me click of like, oh, maybe this whole crypto space, like we need to, like when we do an event, we need to actually like build in slowness. And yeah, because a lot of the like more traditional conferences I go to or events I go to, it's like still one person on the stage speaking to like an audience of 50, 100 people. And I still remember like going to DEF Connect Amsterdam last year, and it's like after 3 days, like I was like completely burnt out. Like it's too much. I heard like 3 people like pitching a lending project at like the same time, you know. So okay, there's this slowness element. I'm also wondering, is there like other behaviors that could be like repellents for like certain groups, like whether it be like women or people of color or like disabled people, that's that we're like not really aware of as like a community, but that are actually there. And if you
Yeah.
want, yeah.
If anyone, I can answer that quickly because so coming back from Eat Safari, I like going from Eat Safari straight to Lisbon Blockchain Week for me was like I got whiplash because it was just like I was going back to a very Eurocentric, like, well, global North centric content. And when I was in Kenya, I was hearing a lot of people that were like, oh, this farmer is using blockchain to do this. And there's an element of groundedness in at Eat Safari that I think now became also my standard, because the models are great, like all of this intellectual structures for different solutions are really important, but at the same time we need to test them, right? And it's the testing that really like it makes everything more real, and then you have actual like stuff to work with, right? Which I understand is harder to get people who are really doing projects that are really tackling like real world problems, because in Kenya there is like way more access to also having people use blockchain in the first place. Like it's way harder to just tell someone who's kind of comfortable in Europe, oh, use this solution instead, right? Which is also why I think like, unfortunately for Kenyans, they would love to come to conferences in Europe, but they never can get visas. So yeah, there's a lot.
And also people shouldn't travel so much around the world with planes and stuff, but okay, close parenthesis. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Naomi, you were saying?
Oh, no. Yeah, please talk. I've been talking a lot.
Chad?
on-the-ground solutions. I just wanted to throw in quickly, here in South Africa, I'm working with a group called AWA and AWOOD, which is basically the African Women in Agriculture, African Women in Dialogue, and African Women in Development. Initially, off the bat, there's about 10,000 ladies, but the actual number is about 100,000. And our education platforms in South Africa alone scale up to 10 million. We also have reach throughout every country in South Africa. So I'm really, really curious to see how we can employ the dialogue and the slowing down of these conversations, but more on a practical level. They are ready to learn, they're ready to engage, and ready to integrate and incorporate. So I'd love to see how, instead of everyone flying over to Europe for a conference, possibly they could come to Venezuela or to South Africa and engage with these communities on the ground. Yeah, that's me. Thanks.
I'd love, thank you. I just want to pick up on something, Naomi, that you said. You said it slowing down, and it's hard to. And then, and sort of on the other side, what I understood you to say is that it's hard to give everybody the experience they want when there's such a diversity of styles and needs. And if we just think about a hackathon, what do you want? You want some interaction, you want some challenge, you want good ideas to progress, you want, high quality collaboration, you want to meet new people, you want, milestones achieved. I'm making stuff up, but I think the outcomes that we collectively seek are probably pretty similar. And the thing I'm like sort of secretly objecting to is that it's like that women prefer an environment that's slowed down. I think another way to say that is make it up. An all-male environment goes far too fast to blah, 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 blah. And all of which is true. I mean, there's heavy documentation, hey, Chris, there's heavy documentation around all this stuff. If we can agree on the outcomes we want, then we should be able to negotiate the hows. And if, Naomi, if I were like stepping on your words all the time, the group, including you, we would hope that the group, including you, would start to govern, right? And say, hey, Wendy, we haven't finished exploring this idea. We've only heard from one person. 3 other people have their hands up. Let's give it some time. And so when you ask the question, Bruno, when you ask the good question, it's a lot of sound effects going on today. When you ask the good question, are there other things? We should guarantee an environment, whatever guarantee means. We should promise, the brand should promise an environment where we are going to generate an environment of inclusion, because that achieves the best outcomes.
Nice. Yeah, just for you to know, the first time slot is finished, so we should proceed to the next one. So we want to do some concluding remarks or something like that, or any final comments. I think it was a very good conversation. Ivy, you took notes, right? Or recorded
I'm
it,
recording,
or both?
yeah.
Or
Just recording.
cool,
I wasn't taking notes.
Yeah. Whoever wants to join I would like to have a conversation, more conversations on this, in order to set out some parameters for next year events. So I can reach out in private and we create a group or something like that. Cool. Who wants to be in this group? Oh yes, cool. Okay.
What
then
about
I will let
Chris
you
and
know.
Vangelis? They just invisibly desire. Chad's like, yep, me. Chris Vangelis, are they there? Telegram? Wendy? Yeah, okay. Telegram? Where's Chris and Vangelis? They're just like not in the
Cool.
room.
Okay, so I will write you in the group on Telegram, okay? Or maybe I reach you individually with the link of the new group. Cool. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.